friends, it's Mari here for Honeybee Stamps. I'm going to take you through the process today for making this really cool tunnel card. This was created using the Honeybee Stamps Ocean Deep Scene Builder die set. This is a really cool die set that helped to create this card that folds flat and just creates this really cool tunnel effect. And of course, this is a box card base and it's really easy to make. I started off here with a piece of 11 3/4 by 6.5 inch art paper. And so it's a bit of an oversized size. I just used this paper from a Bristol Smooth paper pad that was oversized. And I'm going to do some scoring to start off with. Here I'm going to score at 1 inch. Then I'm also going to score at 5.5 inches. I'm going to score at 6.5 inches. And then again at 11 inches. And that's going to provide our base, so you can take that off the scoreboard and do a light fold on those pieces. I also cut some colored cardstock to 5 inches by 6.5 inches. This will provide us with the colors of the ocean or the sea for our card. Now I'm going to score that at 1/4 inch and 4 3/4 inches. I did that with each one of my colored pieces of cardstock. Now I'm going to, you can see here I've got this folded. I'm also going to show you here the Ocean Deep Scene Builder die set. I'm going to use the largest die to cut out my first opening. So this is on the piece of your base on the left side. And you can just see that opening is all nicely die cut now. I'm going to start going lower or smaller with my die cuts. So what I'm going to do is take my lightest color of cardstock and I'm going to place my card front directly over the next piece of paper so that the score lines line up. And I'm going to tape that down. Now what I'm going to do is take the next smaller die from those stacked dies. I'm going to take the next shape that is the next size smaller and tape that into place in that opening. I'll then take that piece to my die cutting machine and cut that opening out in that cardstock. And then what I'll do is I'll take the next lightest color of cardstock and place this over top of it, this paper. Again, lining up the score lines and the edges of the paper. Now I'll take the next smaller die, tape that into place. I'll run that through my die cutting machine and so on and so forth until you've run out of paper and dies. So you can see here I've got my next darker paper. This is the smallest die and I'll die cut that out. And then all of my shapes will be die cut for the tunnel effect for the card. So here you can just see, I'm going to turn this so that the top of my card is facing to the right. And that 1 inch piece in the center is where we're going to tape our colored pieces of cardstock. So with the openings lining up, I am going to tape this into place. And I'm going to tape that with some double-sided tape. You can see that I'm taping that onto or adding that onto the flap that's to the left, I guess, of the top of the card. And I'm going to go ahead and add that onto that 1 inch area, about 1/4 inch from the score line. So about 1/4 inch from the score line, I'm going to tape this down and just making sure that it's going to be straight and that it's lined up with the edges of my card base. And once that's all lined up, I'll just burnish that down. And so you can see when this folds together, it's all aligned properly. And I'm going to add another piece of double-sided tape to the next sized shape or opening. And again, I'll just add that down. Now this time I'm going to add the folded piece to the cut edge of the last piece that was added. So it's just lined right up with the cut edge of that lighter blue cardstock. So the fold is lined up with the cut edge of the last piece. And you can see when they fold together, when it's closed together, it's all lined up. So again, I'll do that same thing with this last color, the darkest color. I'll take that release paper off the backing of the double-sided tape, and I'm going to go ahead and put that into place exactly the same as the last one, lined up perfectly. So the folded line is lined up perfectly with the cut edge of the previous piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and burnish that down. And now you can see when I fold this together how perfect that lines everything up for our little tunnel. Now the last piece of cardstock, the darkest piece, I actually am not going to do the same thing I did with the other pieces. I'm actually just going to cut it down by 1/2 inch, and it'll fit nicely into that space, that backing space on my card base. And that's just going to provide the backdrop for those tunnel openings. And it'll look like the deepest color of our ocean or our sea here. So that part is all finished. Now what I did was I also put a piece of double-sided tape on each one of the flaps or scored edges that's left on the colored cardstock. So you can see each one of these little folded pieces has my double-sided tape on again. And this double-sided tape that I've been using so far is 1/8 inch. And now what I'll do is I'll take each one of those release papers off. And at this point, the top of my card is facing down. The top of my card is facing down. Okay. So I'm just going to take that release paper off. And now you can just see how that flap is going to fold over onto that paper with the adhesive on it. So I'm just going to press that down, and again the top of my card there was and is facing down. And so on that piece that I had just flipped over and taped down, I'm going to add another piece of double-sided tape. And now we're going to take and add our flap from the other side over top with everything closed. So the top of our card is still facing down. And I'm just going to press this into place and flip it over so that the top is facing up. And now you can see how that is all going to fit together. And close flat when it's ready to be closed, which is pretty cool. Now what I did next was I took all of the other little die cuts or dies from the Ocean Deep Scene Builder die set, and I die cut all of those little pieces out in colored cardstock. So there's quite a few dies that are part of this set, and these die cut out all of the little sea plants and the fish and the turtle and all the different little corals and all the little pieces for decorating our little card here. So what I did for these different little critters and plant life and so on is I actually took some ink and just blended on some different colors of ink onto the different pieces just to create a little bit of depth with the different fish and the plant life and so on. Here you can just see that I'm using Distress Oxide in a green. This is Rustic Wilderness. I'm just using a tiny blending brush to blend on a little bit of that green just to add some depth. Adding a little bit of green to this sea plant here, and you can just see how that just adds that little bit of extra detail to our different pieces. Adding a little bit of teal to this yellow fish, which I think is kind of cool because oftentimes in the ocean you notice that fish are a blend of different colors and they just look so pretty in their aquarium or the ocean or wherever they are. So here you can just see I'm adding a little bit of the Honeybee Precision Tip glue to the little ends of each one of these little die cut pieces. I'm not going to show you this whole process. I will show you what it looks like, obviously, when it's finished and during the process as I go along here. But all I did was just take my tweezers, add adhesive to some of these different pieces, and just create a little ocean scene. So it's a really fun way to create this little scene for the project. I really love how it turned out, and this part is just, I think, so much fun because you get to just kind of play around with the little different little die cut pieces and add them in wherever you want. It's just really cool. I love this die set. I think it's super fun. There's a lot of different ways that you can use these dies, and I just thought that that it just worked out really well with this type of card. Now, this particular little bit that I'm adding in here is a bit of it's a little pink flower. It's gorgeous, but it's from this Aloe There Shaker Mix from Honeybee. You can find that in the Honeybee shop as well. Really, really super cute. I love adding all of these different little details in, and just had so much fun creating this sweet little scene. You can see all of these different little colored fish that I chose to use in my little scene here. And the Honeybee Liquid adhesive is just perfect for this job. It puts things into place securely, and you'll be sure that they won't come loose at all from your little scene. I'm also adding these really gorgeous crystal mix bits in here for little water bubbles, and I'm just using my Marvy Jewel picker here to help me put those into place, adding a little dot of glue here and there to add these little bubbles. And now you can see that a lot of the little bits have been added into this little ocean scene, and we are almost finished with this project. I wanted to just show you too here, you could also add some acetate in the front of this project to make it look like it is an aquarium. And that's kind of a fun detail that you can add. I actually didn't end up leaving my finished card like that, but I just wanted to show you that that is an option, and it does add just a little extra detail to your project. Now this is the Seize the Day sentiment set, really super fun. I love that it has a coordinating die set that cuts out every one of those different sentiments from that set. I did cut out the sentiment, I stamped out and die cut out the sentiment, wishing you oceans of joy. I thought that was really perfect for this card, and it's just a really versatile sentiment. You could give this for a birthday, you could give it for an anniversary, or you could give it for a graduation. I mean, lots of different occasions that sentiment would be perfect for. I've placed a little bit of foam adhesive on the back of it, and I am going to place it right about there with my tweezers, and that's going to finish off the card. I did use a little bit of stickles to add a little bit of sparkle and shine to my project as well, just in a few little places. I love how this Stardust stickles just really picks up in the light. Friends, I've linked up to all of the different products that I've used in the description box below if you want to check these out in the Honeybee shop. Have an amazing day, friends, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye-bye.